going on, people? It's Ricardo Francis, aka Ricardo Lifting here. Today we're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk specifically about your diet and how we can change it to work for you to get the results that you want. Now, when I use the word diet, don't think of anything temporary. It's not temporary at all. Diet, we're really talking about what you eat on a day-to-day basis and you can do throughout your life. So the methods that we're looking at should work for anybody and everybody, really and truly. It's just understanding the basic principles of how nutrition works with your body. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what's my goal? You know, are you trying to maintain your body? Are you trying to get leaner? You know, are you trying to tone up? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to lose fat? Are you trying to build muscle? Are you trying to put on weight? So yeah, what's your goal? Then you got to think about, okay, how much do I actually need to eat to achieve this goal? Now, most people have no idea how much. They just guess and assume. That doesn't work for everybody. And again, I want a method that's going to work for everybody. So, first thing you got to do is really look at your calorie intake. Overall calories, how much you actually need. Now, the things you got to consider, two things mainly: your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, and essentially that's all that is the amount of food you need to eat to survive. If you're doing nothing completely throughout your day, literally just lying there dormant in vegetation, how much do you need to eat just to have your organs function, you breathe, etc. That's your BMR. Then something called your TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure. And this is basically your activity level. So you have to keep in mind, or it's not your activity level per se, but it's a multiplier that includes your activity level. So this is how much you need to consume based on your activity as well as your BMR. So there's different calculators out there online. MyFitnessPal does it for you. All you need to do is put in your details, your height, weight, and age, also your activity level, and it'll calculate it for you how much you need to eat throughout the day to achieve your goals. Again, based on weight loss or maintaining your weight or increasing your weight, it will do it for you based on that. MyFitnessPal is a great app to use. I'm not promoting for them, but I'm just saying it does work for pretty much everybody and it's fairly accurate. The one downfall is sometimes it underestimates how much it needs because it wouldn't take into consideration how hard you train. So if you pair MyFitnessPal with a watch that can read activity, for instance a Fitbit or something like that, it'll be really great because it will directly input your activity levels, how many calories you burn, and add it to your total calories. So for example, you might need 3,000 calories to achieve your goal, and your activity makes you expend 500 calories. So now you have to consume 3,500 calories. No matter what your goal is, whether you're trying to lose weight or gain muscle, remember, this is calculated how much you need to achieve that goal. So when you're adding more activity, you need to eat more. Don't think the more I burn and the less I eat, I'm going to lose weight. No, trust me, that's you're asking for disaster. So firstly, you're asking for your body not to be fed enough. Your joints are going to take a toll and fat storage probably going to occur. So you have to make sure you're eating the right amount and you're in a healthy deficit. Calorie deficit to lose weight and calorie surplus to gain weight. That's basic principles of eating. Again, we want this to work for everybody. Yeah, so once you've calculated your calories, then you got to think about your macronutrients, which basically is the intake of your carbs, your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. These three things are essential for your daily consumption. So carbohydrates normally come from things like rice, pasta, potatoes, etc. Proteins usually come from meat. You're going to get them from beans, seeds, etc. And fats usually come from oils. You can get fats in your meats and your fish. And avocados, nuts, etc. So you got to now look at your carbs, your proteins, and your fats. Try to break it down. I always say try to have a high protein intake, high protein, and when you're bulking, you want high carbs and probably slightly lower fats. When you're cutting, you probably want lower carbs and higher fats. Reason being, carbs is for energy. Now, problem is, carbs is one of those where if you're not using that energy, you're more likely to store fat. So it's best to keep the carbs low and time it around your active periods, and then that's it. You don't need carbs for the rest of the day. That way you can keep your fats high, it will burn slowly, and you're less likely to store fat. This works for majority of the people. So some people can cut on high carbs, but for most people, keeping your carbs low is a good shout to keeping lean. Again, if you have high fats, you're still getting that energy you need. It's just not in the same form, but it will still work. Yeah, and your protein has to stay high for protein synthesis, for your muscles to repair and recover properly. Yeah, so if you keep to high protein, low carbs when you're cutting. You can do low carbs when you're bulking. The only difference is it's a little bit harder to put on this weight unless you're getting in a lot of fats. But again, you're still keeping the protein high, and calories overall. You're still looking at your calories. So your carbs and your proteins and your fats is what makes up your calories. So it's just juggling this around, looking at percentages. So they usually say in terms of bodybuilding principles, you want a gram of protein per pound of body weight, or a gram of protein 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. This technique actually does work. It's very beneficial. Again, you get optimum recovery, especially if you're doing some weight training. You're going to get fatigue, and your muscles are going to burn. This helps with your recovery big time. Me, I used to have really poor recovery. I used to take me about a week to recover from a certain exercise or certain body parts I used to train. Now, 3 days maximum, very maximum. Usually it's about 1 to 2 days recovery. So trust me, higher and higher protein really is beneficial. And then after that, you really alternate between your carbs and your fats. So again, low carbs. When I say low carbs, this is keeping your carbohydrates to about, I'll say 50 grams is really, really low carbs. 100 grams is quite low, and 150 for probably a larger person is considered low. 150 is still quite low, but yeah, it's getting towards that stage where it's quite normal as well. And then your fats is the remaining calories after that. So that's a basic way to do it. You can do it by percentages. So for instance, 40-40-20, where you got 40% carbs, 14% protein, and 20% fats. That also seems to work quite well with different people. But again, test it out. You need to, again, you're revolving around your calories, but you want to test it out between your carbs and your fats in what works best for you and what gets you the results you're looking for. Again, some people are carb sensitive, so it's about adjusting to it, keeping your carbs low. If you're not carb sensitive and have a very high metabolism, you digest food very well, then you can probably get away with higher carbs. So you just have to look at that. So once you've figured out how much you need in terms of your carbs, your proteins, your fats, it's very easy. Just follow it. If you're dieting down, just go week by week. When you start to plateau a little bit, just start to drop your carbs a little bit, drop your calories in total, but probably by dropping your carbs, it's going to be the best in terms of results. If you're bulking, you start increasing, you make slight increases. Again, you're probably going to increase from your carbs and your fats if your protein's quite high. If you don't think your protein's high enough, then increase through your protein. Overall, you're increasing your calories and you're still working towards your goal. If you're maintaining, then you're gonna hit a plateau. That's the point. You're meant to, with maintenance, it's not really maintaining the body you have, but it's maintaining your weight. So true maintenance is when you can stay the same weight but look better for it and be stronger for it. That's true maintenance. But again, you're going to hit a plateau where you stop improving, you stop looking any better, and that's because one, you might be training harder and training even better, so you need slightly more, or two, your body's just adapted to it, because for everybody's body, when you keep doing something, your body will adapt and it will stay that way. For instance, when people are getting, putting on weight from eating so little, that's because their body's adapted. Now they've just stored fat and they just held onto it and it stays that way. Again, that's where you have to boost up metabolism, probably drop the carbs, and change everything up. Your body will have to adapt to change. That's the whole point. That's how your body gets stronger. That's how your body gets leaner, looks better, etc. That's your body adapting to change. Your body adapting to the stress you put on it. So, yeah, that's pretty much what you have to do, and you will get your results. As I said, this method works for everybody that I've given it to. Again, it's going to vary in terms of your carbs, your proteins, your fats per person, because some people would react differently to certain foods than others. For instance, I can't really eat rice and pasta because my body doesn't digest it very well. I'm quite intolerant. I think I've got gluten intolerance. I don't know. But when I avoid these foods, great results. I stay pretty lean. When I eat them, I get a bit bloated. I hold on to a lot more water, and I don't look or feel any better for it. So it's best to just avoid it. So listen to your body. When it comes to food, listen to your body. Find out really what your body responds to. And yeah, it's the best way to do it. So one thing I will say, which most people have a problem with actually hitting their calories. A lot of people, especially in the UK, they have a tendency to undereat for their goals, and regardless if it's cutting or bulking, they tend to undereat. So they tend to store a lot of fat, have very slow progress in terms of building muscle, etc. So then once you do this, you've calculated and you find out how much you're eating, etc. You're going to know if you find it hard to eat. If you are finding it hard to eat, the best thing to do is increase the amount of meals you're having. Because again, most people I speak to eat about anywhere from 1 to 3 meals a day. They say that's for the average person. Well, firstly, if you're exercising, you're no longer average. Your requirements go up. So straight away, I say increase by 1 meal at least. Secondly, you don't even know what the average person is nowadays. That average 3 meals a day, men eating 2,500 calories, women eating 2,000. When was that set? Was that the average in the UK? Was that the average in the world? What is the average person? What do they look like? What do they do for a living? You got to take those things into consideration. Don't base yourself around averages, because you're not average. We don't even know what average is anymore. So just do it based off these calculations, and guaranteed you'll get results if you follow it. Just follow it, stick to it. Again, play around with your carbs and your fats. Try and keep the protein high, and you're guaranteed to get the results you want. You're guaranteed to do it. So, yeah. Hope I've helped you. Sorry for waffling on, but I think this is really important. And again, this is where people struggle with nutrition when it comes to getting the results they want in terms of their body composition. They usually struggle with the nutrition side down. It's really easy from there to get the results you need. Really, really easy. One thing I will say, just be wary and mindful of certain foods, because your body might be intolerant to certain foods, and that will really hinder your progress. So, for instance, some people intolerant to red meat, some people intolerant to dairy, some people intolerant to wheat, gluten, etc. So if you know this and you're aware of it, keep it in mind. Try and eliminate these things from your diet so it doesn't hinder your results. I'm sure once you cut them out, you'll feel a lot better. Again, it depends person to person. If you're tolerant to it, you can have it, fine, keep it in your diet. But if you find that your body's reacting a bit weirdly to it, just cut it out. It's the best thing to do. I hope I've helped. Just follow these tips and see where it gets you. That's me. I'm out.